Welcome to this week's Aiding Your Game, our web series where we discuss tips, tricks, and techniques to make your games more immersive and bring more players who are going to invest in your games for longer campaigns. Let's jump into it. As the gaming community continues to grow, I see lots of posts on social media for new people coming into the fold. See a lot of posts with people who are just starting to DM after just a couple of sessions, whether it's by choice or whether it's because they have a group that has elected them or asked them to DM a game. I want to provide some tips and tricks on how to transition into a DM role, even more beneficial for your players, easier to manage for yourself, and have a great opportunity at telling a cohesive story that your players will enjoy. If you're a newer DM just starting out, don't panic. I'm sure you'll get lots of advice, tips, hints, and tricks online. The community is still growing, still evolving, and a lot of people are putting in input as we want to see everybody be able to play. My top number one item that I always tell both new players as well as new GMs and DMs is start simple. The single most important aspect is communication. Strong communication from the players as well as the DM back and forth is going to lead to better role-playing experiences. Let me give you an example. If you're just starting a campaign and you have an epic story in mind, and you're thinking about taking the characters on a journey from the material plane into the outer planes, and you've got tons of details, but your players are just looking at looting a dungeon and hacking and smashing, the two might not play too well together. Expectations on both ends of the table may not be met. By providing strong communication on the type of game that you want to play, as well as being open to communication and reading what the players are expecting to play, you can find some great middle ground and come up with games that are going to be fun and engaging for everybody at the table. Once you've got good, strong, solid communication, you're going to be able to work with your players to make sure that everything fits in the parameters of what their expectations are and what your expectations are. This will lead into character creation and development, and even your game session progression and development. Strong communication is the key. Follow that up with a very simple mantra of keep it simple. If you're planning that epic campaign where you're starting your players out as villagers whose farm was burnt and they're going on an adventure through the outer planes to find vengeance and seek their revenge, it's a lot to manage, especially if you're looking at getting them from low level to high level. It's a long time progression. By keeping it simple and looking at it one story at a time, you can build on top of your initial stories. In some of our videos, we go into discussions on how starting with a single adventure with an open end and a game hook at the end can continue the progression of characters and the story that you can build and build and build on. Think of it like a trilogy. In the first section of a trilogy, there is resolution and an end in sight, but oftentimes there's some type of a hook that's exploited to bring on part two. Sometimes this isn't planned or even meant, but because it was so popular, that second story had to come along and then building on to a third. With any of your gaming stories, you can progress the same way. Start with a single story that has a defined end, but with a hook to lead on to further opportunities. This gives a few different options as the players, who most likely have built their characters in a fashion that they think is going to be fun and rewarding to play. They're really able to see how their character interacts with the game environment. They may enjoy it and want to continue on with that character. They may change their mind and want to play something else. By keeping things very simple and small to start, everybody's able to get into a groove. Some players may decide they don't want to play at your table, and that's okay. Some players may think you are the best thing since sliced bread and want to continue on that same journey with the same characters or different ones. By keeping things simple and moving things progressively as a story builds, you're able to cooperatively build a story with the players that really focuses on the development, growth, and journey of the heroes, which, after all, that's what RPGs are all about. The story of the antagonists is definitely important in an RPG. However, it's a second seat to the player's story. Ultimately, combined, the story should tell a whole. However, focusing on the development of the characters gives the players that sense of cooperative storytelling, which every RPG player loves. Some players may not be as interested in the story and the role of the antagonists versus the universe. Some may just want to hack and slash. That's okay too, as long as you want to run that type of game. You've got to focus on combat scenarios and look at ways to bring them into the story so that their character's hack and slash mentality really makes an impact on the story itself. As a GM, your role is ever changing based on the motives and player progression, what they view as important and what they want to focus on. Always be ready to read the room and know what your players are expecting. This can be very daunting and challenging. However, by spending the time thinking about, studying, and implementing the feedback from your players, your stories are going to be more engaging, your players are going to have more enjoyment from the story, and they'll want to continue gaming with you much longer. After a few sessions, you can really see the dynamics of the players and the characters that they want to play. At this time, you may need to do some shuffling at the table, and then it's a great opportunity to close down those initial simple stories and lead into your big epic campaign. By starting simple, it may just be the introduction to the grand story. The characters that players are running through these initial scenarios could be the grandfathers leading up to the events of your major campaign. By starting simple, you're able to set the stage, show what your gaming style is, and engage your players in your version of game play. By setting up smaller stories at the beginning and keeping expectations at a lower level, you're able to find the balance of how much prep work you want to do and how much prep work you expect your players to do. And again, it circles back to communication. After the game session, as you find some resolution, or maybe you leave it on a major hook to prep up for the next session, communicate with the players on what they enjoyed, what they didn't enjoy, and adjust your gaming based on their feedback. After all, RPGs are a cooperative game, and if with good communication we can make those games more enjoyable for ourselves as GMs and for our players, we're all going to want to be at the table on time regularly. Here are 3 simple things you can do as you're preparing to start your first gaming session. Start by keeping your expectations realistic. What do you expect from your players, and what should your players expect from you? Playing every day for 6 hours is not realistic. Make sure to communicate what your expectations are and let your players know what you expect of them. This is going to lead to everybody being on the same page, strong communication, strong buy-in, and great participation. Communication. You need to be able to speak and to listen. Open communication is a key to any successful game. You need to be able to clearly communicate the type of game that you want to run, as well as your expectations, allowances, and what the players can expect to get out of the game. Likewise, your players should be able to communicate openly and honestly with you for what they have for expectations of everything from character build to what they're hoping the games consist of, the path they want their characters to progress on. Two-way communication is a key to any stable, fun, relaxing, and enjoyable gaming experience. The final item is prep. I see a lot of posts online saying just to wing it or improv is the best option. I can't express enough how a little bit of prep will go a long way to providing a fun and enjoyable gaming experience, because just by having a little bit of prep, the framework alone, you're going to find that the smaller details you can improv quickly and easily, but it'll fit together in the framework that you've already prepared. Spend a little time in prep, and it'll pay dividends for your players as well as for yourself. Thanks for watching our video. We hope that you enjoyed it, and we'd love to have you subscribe. Feel free to hit that button if you care to get notifications for when we post new content. Leave your comments below and help us answer the question of where will your adventures take you. Enjoy.